want to thank you guys for being flexible with me in understanding or just being able to view this video in place of our meeting for today. I want to apologize. If you didn't see my email, I did have to cancel our meeting, 20 minutes prior to the start time because of a family emergency. Okay, so that's why we're having this video lesson, which I hope for the most part is going to be as effective as it would be if we were in our live lesson. Okay, just a few announcements. Next Monday is a school holiday. I think for the most part we call it Easter Monday now, so know that we're not going to have class on Monday because it is a school holiday. Last week we wrapped up with exponents, which you guys learned is repeated multiplication. We're also going to look at that today when we are looking at order of operations. Okay, so that's what our learning objectives are for this video lesson. You are going to be given a variety of expressions and you're going to have to simplify it by using this process called order of operations. Okay, so first things first, what is order of operations? I want you to think of, you fixing a car or you cooking something. Okay, if I'm cooking, let's say, or if I'm baking a cupcake, okay, there's a series of steps that you have to follow in order to make sure that your cupcakes are good. Just like when we're fixing a car, I'm not familiar with fixing a car, but if you were to rotate or change a tire, there's a certain steps that you have to follow in order for you to successfully change that tire. Okay, in math, same thing. When you're simplifying an expression, there's order of operations or rules that tell you which order you need to follow in order to solve an expression. Okay, now order of operations, this is a concept that you are going to review or use throughout math. So from now until you take your high set, just remember, I'll use the word, or your math teacher that you're working with will most likely use the word PEMDAS, which is a short acronym that helps you remember what order of operations are. Okay, what does PEMDAS stands for? P, anytime you come across a problem, okay, if you see any parentheses, the first thing you want to do is look for parentheses and simplify whatever's inside of your parentheses. Okay, here in this case, I'm going to try to use my pencil and all that. Hopefully you guys can see it, but this is what parentheses are. Okay, E stands for exponents. We looked at exponents, that's repeated multiplication. M stands for multiplication. D stands for division. A stands for addition. S stands for subtraction. So this is the order that you have to follow when you're simplifying your expressions. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just highlight multiplication. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight multiplication and division. And I'm also going to highlight or box or group addition and subtraction, okay? Now, I want you guys to understand, and this is a common mistake that students make, is that they'll see a problem and think, okay, I'm going to have to do multiplication first before division, because we see that M comes before D in this order of operations order, okay? Now, anytime you're coming across a problem and you see multiplication and division, what you're going to do is you're just going to simplify from left to right, okay? Same thing with addition and subtraction. You don't have to do addition first or subtraction last. Whatever you see from left to right first is what you're going to use, okay? And I'll go over some examples for you in a bit when it comes to looking at both multiplication and division and addition and subtraction, okay? You'll also hear something called please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. It's another way in how you can memorize order of operations. Obviously, please stands for the parentheses. E stands for exponents. M stands for multiplication, or my. Dear stands for division. Aunt stands for addition. And S stands for subtraction, okay? And again, I'm going to group multiplication and division together, as well as as well as addition and subtraction. Because again, I want you guys to understand that you don't always have to do, when you see multiplication and division, you do not always have to do multiplication first and then division. Whatever you see from left to right is what you're going to simplify. And I'm going to go over some examples like that in a bit. So here's an example of how we're going to use order of operations, okay? Now in math, what we're used to is we're used to simplifying, and I'm going to just leave my PowerPoint because I want to be able to write on this, but in math, we are used to simplifying our expressions from left to right, okay? What we would do is we would do, you know, some of you guys, if you didn't know order of operations, you would do 16 divided by 10 and then subtract that from 6 and then take that to the second power, which is incorrect, okay? So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to follow order of operations. First, now I always write PEMDAS down so I can make a checklist and see that I correctly used order of operations. P stands for parentheses, okay? If you look at this expression, I do have parentheses, which I'm highlighting right now. We want to simplify our parentheses first. So if I simplify my parentheses first, I know that 10 minus 6 is 4. Okay, so know what I did. I simplified my parentheses, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and bring everything down. So nothing changes with the 16 or the division sign. I simplify what 10 minus 6 is, which gave me 4, and that is going to be to the second power. Okay, again, parentheses first. Next, I'm going to go ahead and do my exponents, okay? Now, E stands for exponents. I do have an exponent. This is my exponent right here. This 2 right here tells me that I have an exponent. So what I want to do now is I want to simplify what 4 to the second power is. Remember what 4 to the second power is? That's just repeated multiplication. My base is 4. My 2 is my exponent. So what that means is I'm going to multiply 4 by itself 2 times. 4 times itself 2 times, or 4 times 4, is 16. So when we simplify 4 squared, we get 16. And again, I'm going to go ahead and bring down everything on the left side that I did not look at. Okay, we don't have any multiplication, so we would just skip that step. Next is division. 16 divided by 16. If you punch that into your calculator, your final answer is 1. Okay, now this is your first problem. I want you to understand you're going to need to do a variety of problems to fully be comfortable with this whole process of order of operations. Usually I take about 2 weeks to do this, okay? Let's go ahead and look at another example, okay? For number 2, I have 5 to the second power minus, open parentheses, 5 minus 7. Anytime you see 2 numbers with parentheses next to each other, that also means multiplication. So notice how I just wrote here 2 and 3 with parentheses inside. That means multiplication. Okay, so again, I'm going to follow order of operations. I like to write the word PEMDAS down because I use that as a checklist. Okay, so first things first, P stands for parentheses. I do have parentheses that I need to simplify. In this case, I can simplify what 5 minus 7 is. 5 minus 7 is a negative 2. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify what that is by writing down a negative 2. Usually I bring down everything from the expression that I did not, touch at or look. So notice 5 squared, I didn't do anything with that. I did simplify 5 minus 7. And I'm also going to go ahead and bring down this 2. Okay, please know that the only thing that changed in this expression was this 5 minus 7, which we simplified as 5 minus 2. Okay, now what we're going to do is, if you look at the next step, I want to simplify my exponent. I do have an exponent. In this case, 5 to the second power is my exponent. So remember, 5 squared is basically 5 times itself 2 times. 5 times itself 2 times is going to equal 25. Okay, So after simplifying my exponent, I now have 25, okay, minus a negative 2 times a negative or a positive 2. Okay, again, anytime you see two terms or two numbers with parentheses next to each other, that means it's multiplication. Okay, next, looking at order of operations, I now want to go ahead and look at M. M stands for multiplication. Okay, in this case, I can multiply. I'm going to change this in a different color. Negative 2 times 2. Okay, again, these parentheses means that I'm going to multiply. So I know that negative 2 times negative 2 is a negative 4. Okay, I'm going to bring down everything else that I did not touch. So I'm going to bring down this 25 and this minus 4. And then notice I don't have any division. This is where addition, I don't have any addition, but this is where you just simplify from left to right. Okay, so 25 minus a negative 24, negative 4 is also 25 plus 4. Okay, so those are some integer rules that you guys hopefully have learned on essentials. If not, please let me know so that I can, do a lesson with you. But pulling out my calculator, I'm going to go ahead and just punch in 25 minus a negative 4. I'm looking for my negative sign. You'll get that it equals 29. Okay. All right. About 6 more problems to do. Again, we're just practicing with order of operations. In this case, I have an expression 4 plus 2 to the second power plus 7 minus 2 to the third power. We're simplifying an algebraic expression. And again, to simplify this, we have to follow order of operations. First things first, I have parentheses. I have 2 parentheses that I need to simplify, and notice I just highlighted them. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and simplify what 4 plus 2 is. 4 plus 2 is 6, and then 7 minus 2 is 5. And again, nothing else changes with whatever is outside of your parentheses. So I'm taking 4 plus 2 to the second power plus 7 minus 2 to the third power. Okay, next we're going to simplify our exponents. Notice I have 2 exponents that I need to simplify. I have 6 to the second power, or 6 squared, and 5 to the third power. Okay, I'm going to again just pull out my calculator so you guys can see what you should be doing or what you can be doing to make that process easier for you. So 6 squared, remember this x to the y power button, you can use that button as well. So if I hit 6 and hit this x to the y button and hit 2, because again 6 is my base, 2 is my exponent, you're going to get 36. What your calculator did is that it just simplified it as 6 times 6, which equals 36. Okay. Next, I'm going to simplify what 5 to the third power is. Again, you can hit 5 times 5 times 5, or we can use our calculator and hit 5 x to the y power,
Mommy.
hit 3,
Mommy.
and that's going to equal 125. Okay. All right, next I'm just going to simplify across. Okay, there's no multiplication or division that I need to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and just add, because that's the last thing that I need to do. So again, just punching numbers into my calculator. 36 plus 125 equals 161, and that's my final answer. Okay. All right, let's go ahead to problem 4. Okay. And I do want you guys to challenge yourselves. I hope you guys can pause the video right now and try to do these problems on your own. Okay. Now, if you look at this problem right here, it's 15 plus 4 times 3 minus 2 squared. Now, notice we do have 2 parentheses in this problem, but here in this case, the parentheses is a different, has a different meaning, okay? Because in parentheses for math, we're separating our exponents or our operations In this case, these parentheses right here mean multiplication. Okay, so you don't want to simplify that first. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and simplify my exponent first. I don't have any parentheses, but I do have an exponent. In this case, 2 to the second power is my exponent, which if I simplify that just equals 4. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the equation. It's 15 plus 4 times 3 minus 2 squared. And when we simplify 2 squared, I was able to get 4. Okay, next, if I look at this expression, I don't have any exponents, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that. Okay, next, I do have multiplication. That's what M stands for. My multiplication in this case is going to be 4 times 3. Because again, when you have two numbers that are separated by parentheses, that means you're going to multiply the terms. Okay, so 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and again bring down this minus 4 and then bring down this 15 plus. That's on the left side of 4 times 3. Okay, now here's an expression. I don't have a division, but here's an example where most students are like, oh, I have to add first and then subtract, which is true, but don't let it confuse you. Now that I just have the last two operations left, which is either add or subtract, you don't have to add first and then subtract. For the most part, you're just going to move from left to right of the equation. So I'm going to pull out my calculator. I'm going to go ahead and put 15 plus 12. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 4. When you do that, and if you look at my calculator, you get 23 as your final answer. Okay, keep in mind if you are incorrectly not using, your order operations, your answer will be incorrect. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And again, we need a variety of practice problems to fully be comfortable with doing, our variety or just doing these types of problems. Okay. Okay, so now what we're doing is I believe we're on 5, 6. Sorry, I just need to change my numbers. But here for number 5, this one's interesting. Notice I have 2 parentheses that I need to simplify. Now, if I look at the 2 parentheses, you want to be careful with this because I'm going to go ahead and write my first parentheses out. Notice if you look at what's inside of the first parentheses that I just wrote out, you still have to use that order of operation. Okay, I'm going to simplify my exponent first. Okay, my exponent is 25 because 5 to the second power is 25. I'm going to go ahead and add 6 and minus 3. Notice again how I'm left with addition and subtraction, which are the last steps. I just can go ahead and simplify from left to right. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to punch in my calculator what 25 plus 6 minus 3 is. That's going to give me 28. Okay, so when I simplify this parentheses right here, I get 28. Okay, next I'm going to simplify what 16 minus 3 squared is. Okay, so if I simplify this, if I write it out, I know that I'm going to simplify my exponent first. My exponent in this case is 3 to the second power. Again, you can use your calculator. I can hit 3 as my base, hit this X to the Y button, and hit 2. That tells me that I'm multiplying 3 by itself 2 times. So 3 to the second power is 9. So it's basically 16 minus 9. Okay, and again, if you punch that into your calculator, 16 minus 9 is 7. Okay, notice what the operation tells me to do. It tells me to divide the two numbers. So if I divide the two numbers, I know that 28 divided by 7 is going to equal 4. And that's my final answer. Okay. All right. right, 2 more problems, and like I said, I hope you're challenging yourselves and pausing it and trying to do these problems on your own. Again, we're simplifying expressions with order of operations. First things first, if you have parentheses, you want to simplify that first. So in this case, I do have parentheses. I know that I have to simplify what 8 minus 5 is. That's just going to equal 3. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring down everything that I see from this problem right here, okay? And notice when I do that, I have 2 exponents that I need to simplify because that's the next step, okay? I need to simplify what 2 to the third power is and 3 to the second power is, okay? Now, I'm not going to use my calculator, but hopefully you can use your calculator to simplify what 2 to the third power is. That's going to be 8. 3 to the second power is 9. And again, I'm going to go ahead and subtract these 2 values as well as subtract 3. Notice how I don't have multiplication, I don't have division, I don't have addition. I have subtraction. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to simplify our expression from left to right. I'm going to go ahead and punch in my calculator what 8 minus 9 minus 3 is. That's going to equal a negative 4, and that's your final answer. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and look at this last problem. Okay, again, order of operations, PEMDAS, you simplify your parentheses first and then your exponents, and then we look at multiplication and division, and then it's addition and subtraction. Okay, I have 2 parentheses that I need to simplify. I need to simplify what 11 minus 4 is. Okay, 11 minus 4 is 7. And then I also need to simplify what 9 plus 14 is. 9 plus 14 is going to equal 23. Okay, now the problem tells me to add these 2 numbers, okay? But don't forget about everything in the front. And like I said, usually what I do is I kind of just copy everything else down. Okay, next we simplified our parentheses. I do have exponents that I need to simplify. I need to simplify what 7 to the second power is, okay? So again, punch this into your calculator because I don't expect you guys to know this by heart. You can do 7 times itself 2 times, or you can use this calculator button where you hit 7 first, which is your base, hit x to the y power, and then hit 2. Notice how that's also going to equal 49. Okay, so when I simplify 7 squared, I get 49, okay, divide by 7 plus 23. Okay, I don't have any multiplication, but I do have division, okay. If you look at this, the division tells me to take 49 and divide that by 7. So again, using my calculator, I'm going to take 49, divide that by 7. That's going to equal 7. Okay, so I now have 7 plus 23. Okay, and again, just punching that into my calculator, I have 23 plus 7, which basically equals 30. Okay, so I did a total of 7 problems with you. I don't expect you guys to have this fully memorized because I do feel like you're going to need more practice. Okay, so please know that Monday is a school holiday. I'll keep you guys updated with what happens next week, but I'm going to go ahead and just save all of this work for you guys, and I will email it to you to watch with or to follow along with the video. Let me know if you guys have any questions, okay?